So here we go, and what I'm doing here is I've got a landing pad that I've made, and I'm going to be building a small background ship that's just going to sit on this. It's just going to occupy space for a scene that I'm doing. I'm making it out of scrap styrene. I've got my tools here and glue and cement. Yeah, and basically I've got this toy part here. I think this is a Zoid, I can't remember. I took two pieces of it and stuck it together. It's a funky shape. It's gonna work as the back end of the ship, and yeah, it's got some nice detail there. But I've sanded that flush there, where that's gonna be the engines. The model I'm gonna build is gonna sit on this pad. It can't be any bigger than this pad. So yeah, and I'm literally gonna be freeforming this. I'm not doing any sort of design work or anything like that. I'm just gonna make it up as I go. I'm just going to be using all the scrap that I have just to make this, and also I'm going to be using some PVC pipe. I'm going to use this and just going to cut it up into sections using a pipe cutter, and yeah, just chop this up so that it's easy enough to cut. Chop it up into equal lengths, and I'm going to use these to make sort of pontoons, I think. They're just going to sit either side of the ship. Use them as fuel tanks. I've also got this, which is a 144th scale figure that I printed out, and this is good just to give you a visual reference as to how big something is. If you look at it here, you can see, next to the back end of what's going to be the ship. The ship's going to be maybe 2 stories tall. By the time it's done, it will be. So that's what I'm going for. But it's nice to have a little visual reference here. Nothing sells scale better than having a figure there. But yeah, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to just place this on the platform. I'm just going to build it so that it just fits this scale. So I've got some scrap here. I'm not going to be using that much new stuff because really and truly I've got so much scrap that it's worth doing, and it's good to explore your creativity and your imagination by just using what you've got. And that's what I'm going to be doing. So here you can see I've got the UPVC pipes cut and capped with styrene. Now to do that, you have to use super glue. You have to use glue. You can't use cement. Cement does absolutely nothing to UPVC pipe. It's completely useless. You can use epoxy as well, but for me I was using super glue. And yeah, you can see these 2 tubes are now equal length, and they're gonna just sit either side. And I want them to be like pontoons. But the idea is that obviously they carry a lot of fuel. It's for a small craft. For a small craft, it's got to travel to interplanetary systems, so it's got to have a lot of fuel. And I'm just turning around here. So you can see it sort of, the back end. It's okay for the back end to sort of have its ass hanging over the platform, but I want it to be as big as the platform. I don't want this end here to really sort of hang too far over the end. So basically I'm going to take some styrene now, and I'm going to just start cutting to make the middle section here. I've got this idea of having this open front section so you can see inside. And yeah, it's just this idea of having this sort of open more to the ship, and then I'm going to put the cockpit and everything on top, and that's basically it. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to speed up the video so you can see, and I'll talk you through what it is that I've done to make the ship. So here we go. I'm going to cut some styrene here, and these are going to make the sidewalls for the front section. And yeah, it's just a bit of scrap styrene. I like the idea of having a 45 or to 60 degree incline to the front. So I'm just putting this in place, trying to get this to stay up. Well, obviously things don't want to. But this gives me sort of a general idea of where things are going to go. Take a quick couple of measurements there. Nothing major. Just making the ribs that are going to go down the inside here. But I have to leave the front end open, so there you go. You can see how that kind of works. This front section is going to be built first because obviously I want the interior open, so you're going to have to build and paint it. That's what I'm doing here, which is just to scribe the interior wall details. And you can see how this works. And I'm adding some extra bits of detail on the inside. Nothing fancy, nothing flash. Just little bits of detail. I'm going to cut some beams that are going to stick to the inside. Just for some extra visual interest. Just snip these off. And I'm using contactor to stick this on because I like using contact cement for styrene. And I'll just slow things down a little bit here just so you can see what it looks like. That's pretty much the walls done. Now it's time to move on to do the ceiling. And the first thing I'm going to do with the ceiling is put in a sheet of clear acrylic, and this is going to act as a light transfer for the ceiling lights. There you can see I've cut out some notches that are going to fit in and around the beams for the walls, and that fits in nice and snug in there. And now I can glue this to the acrylic, and then what I can do is drill holes in this, and it's going to be lit from behind. The light's going to diffuse through it, hopefully, and I can drill as many holes as I like in this, and it should provide plenty of spotlights for the bay. We'll see how it goes. There you have the illumination, and it's a little bit of tape LED, and that's it. And you can see it's illuminating this back section here, which I'm going to use for nav lights. And you see it lights up that front really well. And I'm going to start cutting pieces to dress the outside. Here's a quick tip for you for cutting a 45-degree angle. Take your piece of plastic, line it up to the dots in between the squares, and just cut along the straight edge, and you end up with a 45-degree cut. So you've not missed anything here. I've just glued the pontoons on, dressed the outside a little bit, and I'm going to be dressing the back end here, just with bits and whatnot, and use the cabin that I'm building to go on the top. It's basically just a box section with a funky chamfered cut to the front. These holes here are going to be filled in, and it just sits flush on the top. So I'm just interrupting the video just for a small morsel of time, just to say, look, if you're watching the video and you're enjoying the video, please do consider giving me the thumbs up. Also, if you haven't already, subscribe to my channel, and any questions or comments that you've got, leave them in the comment section down below, and I'll do my best to get back to you. Enough of that, let's get back to the video. So this is the cockpit section and how it's looking now, and behind the cockpit I decided to recess the top section, and this is going to be an area that I'm going to use for greebling. And it's basically, it's not really a rule, but it's a guide that I like to use, whereby I place the greebles inside a recess. Again, it's not really a rule, but it is a nice little guide. I think it just looks better. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take all these scrap little pieces here, and I'm going to chop these up to make all the little greebles. I'm just going to cut them and file them and shape them and greeble to my heart's content. Here's the front cockpit with the cockpit windows in now, and the cockpit interior, which is just a roughly built interior, just something for detail. The top section there with the greebles put in, and you can see that how I've laid the greebles out. They sort of flow from front to back. You know, they basically fall and form in the same direction. Yeah, it's just good fun, just greebling away. So here it is, looking a little bit more complete. You can see I've built up the back section there as well, greebled all over and on the underside. But also I'm putting these little landing feet on for it to stand on the platform, and I've got some clear acrylic rod here which goes into that back section that was lit, and it's just going to act like navigation beacons. So after painting the rear engine outlets, I thought, you know, I'm going to try a little bit of dry brushing here on some of the greebles. And I started going over it, and to be honest with you, it wasn't working for me. It just, I started doing it and I thought, do you know what, let's just paint this out instead. When it works, and when it doesn't, it doesn't. But I thought, you know what, I'm just going to paint this out, and then I'm just going to go over this and just do all the little bits of detail in here and there, just to pick stuff out. So I'm just doing a little bit of highlight into some of these little nubs and so on. But you know, that's how it goes. You know, sometimes when you're doing stuff like this, you think you've got a good idea and it doesn't pan out. So change your mind. But yeah, I'm just going around now and just detailing this up. And what I'm doing here now is taking some of the base colour blue and mixing it with some grey, just to give me a little bit of a tonal highlight, so that when I paint it on the ship, you'll get these variations in colour, not just one flat colour blue. Now that the paint is pretty much done for the base colours, it's time to add a little bit of a wash into areas where I want to dirty things down. And what I'm using here, it's a mixture of a brown and a grey. I prefer to use that more than a black. I just find it looks a bit more natural. I'm just letting it sink into all the joints there. Nothing revelatory here, it's just, you know, your typical sort of standard dirty wash phase. All I'm doing here now is I've taken a very dry brush and I'm going over the surface where it's still a little bit damp, and basically it's just taking off any loose wash, and just whatever's left there, then it's just blending it out. And I'm coming back in again with another dry brush, but this time I'm doing actual dry brushing, whereby I'm just catching the edges very slightly with a little bit of a grey highlight, and this is just going to pick up on the edges and give a sort of an artificial sense of motion, really. Just a little bit of extra detail. And worth noting as well, while I'm going over this, I'm not going too heavy. I'm attacking it in light coat after light coat after light coat, because the reason is that, you know, it's easier to apply it than it is to take it back off again. So I'm doing it light coat after light coat. It takes a lot longer, yeah, but it's the results are worth it. And now that that's done, it's time to move on to powders. And yeah, I'm just going to go over this with a couple of different colour powders. I've got a light grey, a medium grey, and it's almost like a black brown. And I'm going to go over it with that. I'm just going to mask off areas and just go over the model, sweeping from front to back as well, because I still want to maintain that sort of forward motion appearance. So and I usually like to start off with the lighter colours and go darker. I know the masking phase is done. I'm gonna go back into it now with just a little bit of the black brown powder and just get into areas, into cracks and corners and whatnot, just to sort of sooty it up and dirty it down, just to make it look that a little bit more grubby. Paint is done, the washes are done, the weathering is done, the powders are done. It's time to peel off the masking tape and see what we got. Worth noting here as well that the front cockpit windows, I decided that because it's a background chip and you don't really need to see the inside, that I was going to just lightly frost them, just so that it's a little bit fudged. You can kind of see something in there, but also you can't see enough to know that there's not a lot in there. Well, I guess that wraps it up, doesn't it? You know, I wanted to build a background model spaceship, built out of scrap, built out of the scrap bits I had left over, and some odds and ends. Built it, painted it, weathered it. I guess that's it. Except it's not. I'm not going to do that to you. How could I possibly? Besides which, I want to see what it looks like as well. So, I've got a model. I've got a motion control rig. Let's see what we can do. well, that really does wrap it up. That was a lot of fun. The 2 clips that you just saw there, that was about 8.5 hours work. That was, but that's why I do it. You know, it's a lot of fun. It really is a lot of fun playing with the models on a motion control rig, and just, you know, it takes forever, but you know, it's great. It's really, you know, it's good fun. Better than just, you know, pressing render and go for a coffee. So yeah, that really is it. Don't forget, if you've been watched this video and you've enjoyed this video, to do please give me the thumbs up. Also, if you haven't already, hit the subscribe. Questions or comments in the comment section down below. Also, yeah, I mean, like, I've got this little ship now, and it's only a little model. It's only like this, but doesn't have a name. So if you want to suggest a name, do so in the comment section, and we'll see what I think about it. Anyway, till next time, take it easy, guys, and see you soon.